Okay, welcome everybody. That is the signal to get started. And yes, this event will be recorded, so everybody knows. And again, welcome to the event Impressive Art and Artist Panel on Printmaking. This is the fourth and final installation in the Graphic Knowledge Prints and Printmaking at UC Berkeley series that we've been doing every Wednesday afternoon in October. And I want to say thank you to Amber Lawrence, Randy Husong, Todd Olson, and Jennifer Osgood for their help in putting these events together. And a special thank you today to Susan Balo, Emily Guy, and Robin McCloskey, sorry about that, for participating in this event today. This series started because the Graphic Arts Loan Collection on campus is closed this semester and most likely in the spring because of COVID. And the committee, the Graphic Arts Loan Purchasing Committee that we're a part of, wanted to find some way that could keep the Graphic Arts Loan Collection mission alive during this time when the collection has actually been closed. And this mission is to support the art education curriculum on campus and to further the appreciation of art among students at UC Berkeley. So that's where this series of events around prints and printmaking came about. I just want everybody to know that there will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation today, and you can put your questions in the chat throughout the presentation, and then we'll get to them at the end. And with that, I just want to, I'll turn this over to Randy, Susan, Robin, and Emily. And thank you all for coming.
Hello, and welcome to the final presentation of the Graphic Arts Loan Collection. I am Randy Husong, printmaking faculty at the Department of Art Practice here at the University of California, Berkeley. Today, I'm joined by the three artists whose prints we have recently added to the GALC collection, the Lending Library. Susan Balo received her BA in Studio Art from the University of California, Santa Cruz, and an MFA in printmaking from the University of Lincoln, Nebraska. She has studied printmaking in Florence, Italy, trained as a master printer at Paulson Bott Press in Berkeley, and she received the Phelan Award for Excellence in Printmaking and has been awarded fellowships at Kala Art Institute and Women's Studio Workshop, Rosendale, New York. Susan is professor of art at San Francisco State University, and in 2014 chaired the SGC International Printmaking Conference in the San Francisco Bay Area. Her work is in private and public collections throughout the United States, including University of Arts Philadelphia, the Ford Foundation, and the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco. Hi, Susan. Emily Guy is an experimental printmaker and mixed media artist. She works primarily in cyanotype and early photographic processes that is sensitive to sunlight and produces shades of blue. Her work often pushes the boundaries of traditional printmaking techniques by layering and combining materials and processes. She has exhibited in galleries throughout New York and the Bay Area, including the International Print Center of New York. Emily is a co-founder of Collaborative Arts Mobility Project, an annual experimental artist residency entering its 5th season. Emily has been an artist in residence at Kala Arts Institute since 2015, where she teaches silkscreen and cyanotype. Emily received her BA in Studio Arts from Bard College in 2012 and is currently in her 2nd year of the MFA program here at the University of California, Berkeley. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Robin McCloskey is a San Francisco Bay Area artist and educator working in printmaking, painting, mixed media, and digital imaging. Her prints combine photo-derived and manipulated imagery with traditional and experimental printmaking techniques. Robin has taught in numerous art departments, including San Francisco State University, Cabrillo College, and the Academy of Art University, and has taught printmaking, drawing, and digital illustration at Dominican University, as well as offering workshops at Kala Art Institute in Berkeley. In 2013, Robin completed a large-scale commission, Map of the World, a ginormous 5-foot by 9-foot mixed media piece based on satellite imagery of continents and oceans and bordered by 96 etched copper plates featuring cultural references and patterns from nature. Welcome, Robin.
Thanks, Randy.
So I hope you can all see this. This is the piece that the GALC recently acquired of Susan's called Arboretum. I was hoping, Susan, that you could speak a little bit about this piece.
Of course, thank you. Well, this print is based on drawings from the Arboretum, which is now called the San Francisco Botanical Garden, which is about a half a block from my house. And it's part of a series of prints I made at CALA in 2018, in which I was sort of thinking about public and private resources and spaces. So I made drawings in sort of these different public, semi-public, and sort of civic spaces that included different sites in Golden Gate Park, the Civic Center. I looked at some public museums and also sort of these shared kind of backyard kind of garden spaces that are these sort of semi-private, semi-public spaces. And so the print is an etching, and it has, of the series, this is probably the one that has the most sort of elements of the idea of a garden itself, but there are still sort of elements of, the other kinds of geometry that I would find in the garden, like the signage or the gates that kind of direct how you move through the Arboretum. And it's such a wonderful place, the Arboretum. We sort of have a little secret entrance that's very close to our house that we can walk half a block and suddenly be in kind of the redwood grove of the Arboretum. So this work sort of reflects some of that, just that sense of sort of suddenly being in this kind of gem of a garden, and how quiet it is and how you can sit and sort of look at the elements, the plants and the light in the space.
It's such a delightful piece. I'm sure it's going to be sought and fought after for a loan if it hasn't been loaned out already. Maybe we can find out from Scott at the end, but it is a delightful piece and it's so uplifting and it's really wonderful. Okay, I'm going to switch now to Emily's piece. And this is Emily's piece that we recently acquired at the same time. Emily, I'm so curious about how this was made.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. So this is a screen print, a single color screen print that was made sort of in a response, sort of off of another piece that I made that I think we'll show a little bit later. But in my work recently, I'm really interested in objects, functional objects, domestic objects especially, and thinking about objects that are collected. And I work with a lot of layering, and I'm really interested in using photography to sort of highlight these sort of everyday and often sort of mundane seeming objects. And yeah, I think with this piece in particular, I was interested in the way that there's sort of a flowing kind of and translucent effect that was happening with the screen print.
It's hard to get a sense of the scale of this, especially because I'm aware of some of your larger pieces. Can you tell us how big this is?
Yeah, it's about, I don't know, must be 24 inches tall, something like that. I'm just roughly guessing, but yeah, it's not huge. It's sort of medium sized, I would say.
Yeah. And it's on the smaller side for some of the work you do.
That's true, yeah.
Terrific. Thanks, Emily. And Robin, this is a remarkable combination, it looks like. Can you tell us a little bit about how you made this piece?
Sure. First of all, I just want to say how exciting it is to be in this collection. It was such a cool thing to find out about. So thank you for that. So this kind of came out of, I was invited to submit a proposal to the Port of Redwood City for some public art. I've done a little tiny bit of public art. And I visited the port, and I just started to think about the port as a place of navigation and migration. So those were my two kind of ideas that I wanted to incorporate in my proposal. And I did not get the commission, but I enjoyed working on the images so much for it that I decided to go ahead and make prints from some of the imagery that I had developed for the proposal. And so in the background is a map. It's a 19th century map that was commissioned by the USGS to map the bay. And so that's one plate, one layer in the back. And then there's an early 20th century cutter. And then a photograph that I had taken at the Baylands myself. I live in Redwood City. I live near the bay. I hike there all the time. So it's a place that I'm pretty close to. So anyway, that was the genesis of the print.
Wow. So it looks like a combination of techniques. Is this all intaglio or?
Photo intaglio or photopolymer intaglio with monotype.
Uh-huh. So multiple plates.
There are two plates here. A lot of times I only have one plate, but in this instance, I didn't think I could really get the layering I wanted with the map unless I had a second plate. So the map is on a separate plate and the boat and the rock are on the same plate.
Oh, very smart. And this piece, we're just going to stick with you with some of your work, if you don't mind. Very
Okay.
similar. Is this part of the same? Maybe it has a similar feel to it.
Yes. So my two thoughts, as I said, about the port were that it's a place of navigation and migration. And it is actually a working port, but it's also part of this estuary that the San Francisco Bay is. That's a very important place on the Pacific Flyway. And this little bird is a Western sandpiper, and they're kind of my heroes of the bird world. They're pretty common, pretty small, pretty unremarkable in a lot of ways, except that they fly from the Yucatan to Alaska every year. I have no idea how they do it, but they do stop in our area as they're making this migration. And so I think of the bay as the life preserver is kind of a symbol of sanctuary or refuge. And, I'm thinking, of course, about how important it is that we preserve the environment so that these creatures can safely navigate through. So it's the same map, but a different plate layered over it.
Yeah.
And I want to apologize if everybody can hear my neighbor's yard work being done. I don't know if that's...
I can't hear it.
Oh, good. It's really loud where I am. And
this, you're using the same sort of technique, multi-plate, obviously. Some photographic imagery. You mix it up a lot in your work. The variety of techniques and combining different processes and maybe technologies. How did you start doing that?
I started doing it in some ways. Well, I'm trained in more traditional media, in drawing and painting and traditional printmaking, and didn't really get to digital until later. But my very first teaching job, I was teaching at Columbia College in Chicago, and in the same studio where I taught printmaking, they also taught alternative photo processes. And when I saw some of the photo work on rag paper, like the kind of paper that we use in printmaking, I just fell in love with the way that looked. And about that same time was when it was becoming, Photoshop was becoming available. And I had also worked for a printer for a while, so I knew my way around the darkroom a little bit. And so I was able to kind of use all those different parts of my experience to come up with a way of working that I've been kind of addicted to ever since. So I start out with photos, and a lot of them are found photos. The Library of Congress has become a favorite place to look for photographs. So the worker in the field there and the image of the Wright brothers both came from the Library of Congress. It's a map of North Carolina. North Carolina is where the Wright brothers did their first flight. And so I'm kind of thinking about how some people are so bound to the earth and working so hard, and others are kind of, it's a little bit about that inequality in a way. But it's also a landscape, and I'm trying to combine an image of it. The idea I'm interested in is that the map is sort of a concept of a place, and the landscape is kind of an image of a place, and trying to combine those two ideas.
Wonderful. Oops. So, and there's another beautiful piece.
And also a map. So I'm kind of trying to make a map of all 50 states eventually. I'm going very, very slow. It's going very, very slowly.
Oh, this looks like a collection that you might live with. As you know, the Graphic Arts Loan Collection is predominantly a lending of original prints. And we often are encouraging students and faculty to check out prints and live with them. And so as part of this discussion, we asked, what prints do you have that you live with? This is a wonderful installation of prints. And so, oh my, you've even got a Jacques Collot. How did you acquire this?
So I got it at the Collot auction, just as my work was purchased by your collection at the Collot auction. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to get prints. Interestingly, it was donated by John Ely, who was the head of printmaking at San Francisco State for many years.
Oh, and there's proof positive right there.
Yeah, you can't tell. It's a teeny tiny little print.
Well, they were, almost all of his prints are really small. But he's the great grandfather of it all, really. The switching it up from engraving to etching and developing the hard ground that really worked, and the inventor of the échoppe, the etching needle that is truncated, that can replicate the thick and thin line of the engraved of an engraving, which was a huge contribution to. I don't know if he was trying to pull the wool over our eyes by etching it, which would have been a lot easier than engraving it. But either way, he was able to make such a contribution. Now, this looks like something I would like to live with as well. This is this a mezzotint?
Yes, and Holly Downing, who's very famous for her mezzotints. And again, this is a piece I purchased at Collot. You can, get great bargains on prints there. And I love all kinds of print techniques. And so I was really, really fortunate to get this print.
And there's another etching, it looks like. How does Collot work? It's more than just an auction house, isn't it? Is it, and you have taught there? It's for some of the people in the audience that might not know, it's an art institute of sorts here in Berkeley. And they offer classes and services. Can you explain a little bit about how it works?
Sure. I think all three of us artists on the panel today have a connection to Collot, but I first went to Collot. They are a artist founded by artists, an amazing workshop, studio, gallery, classes, community organization, just a fantastic, fantastic organization. I think they are about 40 years old now.
Oh my.
I was fortunate enough to go there as a fellowship artist, and then I worked as an artist in residence there for many years until I started working in my home studio, and I've also taught there.
Oh, Terrific. Thanks, Robin. Hang
Okay.
around. We're going to have some more questions. Oh, this is an interesting one. You said that this is a portrait of you because you're Robin and you have your printer's apron on here. That's so darling.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that. I have prints by my kids when they were in kindergarten hanging close by the Jacques Collot. So I like all kinds of prints by all levels of artists.
Great. Oh, I was almost passed by this one. This is also a purchase through Collot or a trade, maybe?
I think maybe a trade or maybe a purchase. Yeah, it could be. Artemio, originally from Mexico, a fantastic relief printer. He lives in LA now. I'm sorry I don't have a close-up so people could see the incredible detail of this. But it's called La Loteria, and it's about the kind of cards. I think they're similar to tarot cards, but it's a really amazing print.
And trade is such a great way to acquire. Printmakers can trade prints. They're multiples. It's part of the whole bargaining of printmaking and making it. So here is some of Emily's other work, and I'm taken by the fact that how similar it is, but very different, Emily, from the silk screen that we acquired. This one is an installation. It seems like the images are on various veils of fabric. They are pinned, or maybe there's little magnets that are holding it against the wall, but this multiple layers, scrims of sorts it's just fascinating to see. And I recall walking by something like this and how just the movement of the air of walking by has this, it's a very shy piece. It kind of moves with the atmosphere. Can you talk a little bit, Emily, about how this is made?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Randy. So this is a cyanotype, or they are cyanotypes on silk, as you mentioned. And I wanted to show this piece because this was a sort of a step in the print that was acquired by the collection. So that print was actually created by first photographing a sort of version of these layered pieces together. And yeah, it's sort of very much like you described. They are magnetized. They're sort of on magnets, so that I could play with them in different versions and add more pieces, take pieces away. It's sort of a piece that every time I install it is different. Yeah, I like thinking about the way that this kind of references memory and sort of, again, highlighting each individual piece, but allowing some things to sort of fall into the background and other pieces to sort of come to the front. So yeah, I love, I think this is true of printmaking processes in general, but cyanotype for me has been such a wonderful process to just sort of push into different materials, trying it in all kinds of different ways. So this was just sort of one of those experiments.
It's beautiful. I also love this piece, and I'm always curious, is there a chair behind the scrim? Is the chair on the scrim? Is it both? Is it in color? How is this done? Yeah,
so this is a screen print. They're screen prints. They're on very long pieces of silk that are sort of then can be rolled up so that they can be kind of installed in different places. I initially came up with this idea because I was making a work for a space that had really, really high ceilings. And I was really interested in this idea of them needing to reach all the way to the top to kind of come back down to the floor. And yeah, I'm just generally really interested in sort of rendering functional objects functionless. And again, things that we might not always look at. So these are, it's actually, they're, I can't remember, I think I initially thought that these would become CMYK screen prints where every color would be separated, but of course, in the printing process, the registration was much more complicated on the sort of like gauzy silk than I expected. And so I ended up printing a layer of opaque white and then a layer of, can't remember if I did yellow. I think I did yellow first and then ended up going in just with brown, but then sort of hand brushed in some other colors to give it kind of a more photographic effect.
That's so interesting. I think printmakers are such problem solvers, and that's just a great way of changing the conversation with the material. If it's not going to work out the way you initially thought about it, it can easily be solved if you're a good problem solver. So that's a beautiful piece. And it looked like they were life-size chairs.
Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm.
Do you consider yourself, a lot of printmakers, they say I am a printmaker. Do you consider yourself, do you identify as a printmaker or a visual artist, or how do you present yourself?
I do identify as a printmaker, I guess an experimental printmaker, mostly because I'm so fond of printmaking communities and printmaking techniques. And I love sort of pushing the boundaries of the processes of printmaking. I love the history of printmaking. It's all very exciting to me. And I really, really love the community that printmaking can foster, where we're all sharing equipment with each other. But I really have been recently sort of, especially in my graduate work, I guess, forefronting the concepts and then kind of coming back around to printmaking techniques, but incorporating more sculpture and photography and installation and video, and kind of, they really encourage you to try everything at Berkeley's program.
So these look like actual objects that you found and printed or something. What can you say about these?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think technically they might be collagraphs, but they're also sort of monotypes because they're single, each object was inked individually one time and then put through the press. But I was thinking about, in my work on objects has also kind of led me to think about consumption and waste. I source a lot of objects from thrift stores, and I'm really interested in collecting and sort of when objects become useless to us. And so, yeah, so this was kind of wanting to work with things that we might consider trash or garbage, and also kind of taking away some of their markers, their branding, things like that.
Yeah.
So I made this at Kala. I think we used like yoga mats or something to make sure that we could safely put it through the press. And I did it with some supervision to make sure that it was a safe thing to do, but it was really fun.
It looks like this is a series that could go on and on, or if you put it to bed.
It's to bed right now, but just sort of because there's lots of other things to work on, I guess. And yeah, but it certainly, I would love to see many of them.
They're just you're taking a nap at the time.
Yeah.
And this has got to be new work because it's COVID related.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell us about this. Is this a painting?
Yeah, so these are monotypes. Yeah, so they're, for anyone who's unfamiliar, a monotype would be a print that is, there's only a single piece that comes out of it. So with most prints, they're usually in multiples or sort of in a series. And so this is a painting that I made on plexiglass and then put through the press. Yeah.
It's interesting. The chairs are back in the work. There's no figurative elements. It's very much your work. It really is so the scale of this is what?
I think they're 30 inches wide.
Oh,
yeah.
So it's a full sheet.
It's a full sheet. Yep.
Oh, Yeah, we miss going to the movies, don't we? That's another monotype?
Yep. Yeah. So this is all part of the same series, and
Ah,
um, not quite sure where it's going yet, but I thought it would be fun to share because it's just the most recent thing I've been putting through a press.
boy,
So
these are so timely. Is that Chuck E. Cheese or?
yeah, or some, McDonald's or some indoor play place, basically.
Yeah, wonderful. And you have some work that you live with, it looks like.
Yeah. So what you mentioned about trading prints feels very, very true to me. I've been lucky to trade with a lot of friends from Kala and from Max's Garage Press, which is another studio, a really great printmaking studio in Berkeley. And Sienna is a really great friend, and I think that her work is breathtaking if you're not a printmaker, but if you can sort of understand a little bit about how this is made, it's like sort of mind-blowing. So yeah, I thought I would share this just because it's something that I live with that I really, really treasure.
It's gorgeous, and it's certainly a lot of time spent with the stop out.
Yeah.
Beautiful aqua tints, they're flawless. That was great. So hang around. We've got some questions at the end, I'm sure, but up next is Susan. And Susan, this piece looks very similar to maybe the Arboretum series. Is it connected or something different?
Yeah, it's connected, and this is my most recent print, but it is still part of that same series where I'm looking at different kinds of constructions, and this is something that's based on sort of after many kind of steps in the process. It is based on a garden fence.
Oh, and this is a single color etching?
It is. So a little bit later in the slides, so yeah, you can see that those are other works that are in that same series, although the Arboretum print isn't in there, but it does give you sort of a sense of scale. And that the little etching that you showed on the previous slide is just an aqua tint etching that came from using a stencil to apply the aqua tint on the plate, if that means anything to you, which I know some of you it will mean something to, and some of you it won't.
So you put the stencil on the plate before it goes in the box?
Yeah, it's with a spray aqua tint.
Oh,
So I
it's
don't
a
have
spray aqua tint. Okay.
so
That's, yeah, fascinating. So spray paint?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And this is interesting how you've installed it. So once again, there's a method to this system that you decided to install in this way. Is it related to maybe the imagery or?
No, I mean, this was really, having works that starting out with this project, sort of deciding on just even different plate sizes. These are all etchings. So I have 2 different plate sizes. And it was a way for me to, kind of explore different imagery and use different colors, but because they're the same size, they could be hung in different relationships. So this work has been shown in different, in different installations, and shown as a pair, and so this came from just kind of playing around with what, just kind of the rhythm of moving through the different spaces or the different colors.
I did do some research for this talk, and I was looking at some of these etchings, like the barricades and the turnstiles, and those are all from this sort of same series, right? They're maybe 2-plate color or more, but they are just exquisitely crafted. You printed at Paulson Bot at the time. It's now called Paulson Fontaine. That must have been quite an experience.
It was. I mean, I definitely learned a lot when I was printing. Some of that happened. I did my first stint at Paulson Press when they were in their space in Emeryville. So in 1998, maybe.
I remember that space.
Yeah. And it was when I was in graduate school. I took the summer and came here and printed at Paulson for
Oh,
a few months, and then was able to, sort of, I mean, it definitely, taught me about using color with etching, and it really kind of helped me focus on the possibilities of color with etching.
uh-huh. I found these are these newer works?
These are, and one of the things, when shelter in place happened, we all just had to hunker down. And so, of course, I didn't have access to any print studio. And so I started doing these little watercolors and also these little cut paper. So this combines like a watercolor, and then I cut on the paper. And it really was still thinking about kind of garden lattice and just that very simple sort of grid as a fence or as a barrier or as something that you could see through. And so this was very, sort of therapeutic for me to sit and, cut little shapes. It's definitely time intensive, but it was also, it sort of was had a very close relationship for me in relationship to making marks on a copper plate, like drawing through the ground. There was really this sense of kind of incising and making these very small, precise marks that resonated with me.
Oh,
And so these are, some other sort of examples. And it was through this, working with the grid through the watercolor, and then also with the cut paper, and how these pieces of paper sort of started to also look like stencils to me. And so from some of these cut paper pieces is how that most recent etching evolved.
oh, I
Well,
see.
what happens if I take these cut papers and put it on an etching plate, and how could I do that?
Interesting. And I noticed that you went, the graduate work was at in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I happened to visit there for one of those print conferences, and I got the sense, and I could be wrong, correct me if I am, that it was heavily a woodcut program with Karen Kuntz. And were you influenced? I mean, I'm seeing cut here and wondering if you've done woodcut or relief, and you're obviously connected to etching.
Right. Well, Karen is in the audience. So hi, Karen. Karen Kuntz from Lincoln, Nebraska is here. So yeah, I mean, Karen definitely influenced me in terms of color, and also just in terms of sort of the joy of making prints, and kind of the endless possibilities of having something in a repeatable matrix, and then how that might evolve. I was convinced to try some woodcuts, but the relationship of drawing, there is a relationship between sort of relief print and drawing that's very different from the relationship of drawing to etching. And the etching is what sort of I respond to more.
It's also interesting to see this work. I find myself talking a lot when teaching about how print, the delay in print, and how you go through the process and it builds ever so slowly. It's a gradual sense. There's no immediate gratification. It's not the marks you make, you won't realize, they don't become evident until later. And this work seems so fresh and direct. It must be a real relief, even though you don't have, I don't know if it would have come about had the whole pandemic not locked you in, but it seems like you broke through this pandemic with some of this work.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, again, like I said, it was sort of nice to kind of focus on something else and just also be in a space where it's like, well, I'm just going to make what I can and not worry about what it's supposed to be, you know. I do have access to print facilities now. I was able to get access to San Francisco State Print Studio. I'm there a few days a week supervising graduate students. There's only a handful of faculty that are there, but yeah, and so it is, I mean, what you said before about that, the whole like the delay. I mean, I always think about working in print as it's a sort of a gift that you can sort of spend extra time with your image where you're not immediately faced with it. It's just sort of next to you. It's like parallel play, like you're painting on your stop out and the image is there, but you're not having to, you're just engaging with it maybe on a sort of a more subconscious level.
Mm. I love that comment, and I try to encourage the students that even when it's finished, they should spend the same amount of time, because it's not finished until they say so. You know, it's not, did you finish it or did it finish you? So spending the same amount of time through that delay process can evolve, and the piece can continue to grow, and you can change the work as you go. Wonderful. And do you live with work? This looks.
I do. I included this and then another print that are both, this is a laser cut woodcut by Jamin Lee, who is, I met many years ago, maybe at Kala, maybe at Graphic Arts Workshop, which is a printmaking co-op in San Francisco. And this is, I've admired her work for many years. And this is a 3-color laser cut woodcut. So there is a digital photographic element to it. It's based on photographs that she took at the Railroad Museum in Sacramento. And it's this really beautiful combination of the sort of the digital cut from the laser cut and the photographic element. But then also it's, you know, I hope that it comes through on your screens that you can still see some of that wood grain and how that is, it just also, like with so many prints, it sort of invites close looking, you know,
especially in the sky.
Yeah.
It's a very generous piece in terms of getting into it and then realizing that it's a small model. And then you realize how you look and wonder how it's made. And it's like you say, the wood grain reveals some evidence, or it removes some of the mystery of how it's made. How big is this?
It's 20 by 27 inches. So, you know, and I have it in my living room, and a friend of mine, when I got it, said, "Oh, well, that will go great with all the Legos on your floor." Not my Legos, but people, my roommates have Legos.
And what's this?
This is behind me also is a piece by another Bay Area artist, Linda Simmel, who actually has her BFA from Berkeley some time ago, not that long ago, where she did painting and photography. But this is a print. I met Linda at Kala, and now we're good friends. And so I love having this work in my house because it makes me think of her, but also I just love this work. It's from a series she did based on photographs of the sea surface, the surface of the ocean under different wind speeds. So this is 75 knots. And someday I'll have, maybe 90 knots. And I think the other one is maybe 30 knots.
Oh.
So I just love that it's something that, you know, has that it's this ocean surface, but it also sort of looks like mountains. It looks like rain. It's this very rich, beautiful surface.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Well, I'm going to stop sharing the screen here, and maybe we have a moment. There might be some questions, or maybe not. I've gone long with some of you. Maybe you could, Robin, what are you working on now?
I am teaching, and I'm finding actually teaching online to be a very time-consuming endeavor.
Look at everybody nodding.
Yeah, and so I'm sad to say that since the summer, I have not been very productive in my studio. I do want to continue with my 50 states, and I'm thinking Pennsylvania is the next place. So I'm thinking of some imagery there, and I can sometimes squeeze in some Photoshop work. It's easier to do Photoshop work in tiny blocks as opposed to printing, which I feel like takes bigger blocks of time.
And Susan, you were nodding your head. It's difficult teaching remotely, but you're in the studio a little bit with grad students, so that helps.
Yeah, it does. I live close to school, so it's easy for me to get there and to do some printing. I'm probably it's time consuming, the teaching, but I think I'm also suffering under some of the conditions my students are, which is trying to deal with focus during these strange times. But I'm able to get a little bit of work done.
Oh, good. And Emily, you're doing some teaching through our grad program. So how are you finding this pandemic affecting your well-being?
It's certainly been challenging. I think if I were teaching a full course load, I would be, I can only imagine how overwhelmed I would be. But for me, luckily, just with the one class that I'm teaching, it's felt like a really nice community space to kind of, reflect with other people and to continue to stay inspired and making things. So.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I so much appreciate having you come on board and speak about your work. I'm going to pass it back to Scott Peterson, if I can. We've got like a minute left, and maybe, Scott, do you have some parting words as we conclude with our series?
Thanks, Randy, but we did have one question that just got put in the chat. So I don't know if everybody wants to answer this, and it's from Kevin Harris. Says, thank you for the great discussion. Could the panel suggest ways and venues to get print work out, shown, local and otherwise?
Anyone?
I would say that the International Print Center of New York, which it sounds like a lot of us have also worked with, they have a free call for submitting print work, and their exhibitions are really great. I think there's a call right now actually that you can submit to. And I would be on the lookout for when they're able to start back up again for the really great printmaking sales around the Bay Area. Kala has a really great print sale, as does Max's Garage Press, that I would check out.
Randy, can I put in a plug for CSP, California
Absolutely.
Society of Printmakers? I think I would suggest trying to join CSP, because there's always the member show, but they do numerous shows throughout the year, and it's a great organization. It's been around, I think, over 100 years now.
Oh, wow. Do you have some venues that you like to promote, Susan?
I would just add to Emily's suggestion for IPCNY. In addition to their own, open call that they do twice a year, they also have on their website resources. They have a resource that includes a resource page that includes artist opportunities. So a lot of places that have, calls for shows, but also organize residencies or other, possible programs are often posted on at IPCNY.
Terrific. Well,
Great,
Scott,
thanks.
thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone, for agreeing to do this. This is a fascinating discussion, and I just wanted to say, Robin, we have a couple Artemio Rodriguez prints in our collection, as well as a Jacques Collot too. So, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming, and thank you. And this was the fourth event presentation in a series that we've done all every Wednesday afternoon in October, and all these presentations have been recorded, and they'll go up on the library YouTube channel probably in November sometime. Again, thank you all for being a part of this panel, and it was fascinating. And again, thank you for letting us purchase your art for the Graphic Arts Loan Collection too. And we got it from CALA Art Institute, which is a fabulous place. And yes,
We
thank
also,
you.
can I just say, we also purchase directly from artists, don't we?
Yeah. Oh no, we do. Well, first of all, nobody has had a chance to check out your prints yet because they haven't actually circulated. We purchased them in the spring of last year, and then COVID happened and the program's down, which is why we're doing this event. Yeah, we have just actually started purchasing prints again, because when I took over about 10 years ago, all our money that we had for the endowment was actually going to remat a lot of our prints that all were in acidic matting. So we were actually using preservation. And so this is the first year we've actually been purchasing prints again. And that's why Randy, Todd Olson, Jennifer Osgood are part of this Graphic Arts Loan Collection Purchasing Committee. And then during COVID, we were like, where should we get these prints from? And we're like, let's go to the CALA Art Institute and bid on some things. And we were fortunate to win the bids for your prints and some other artists that were featured by CALA too. But yes, again, thank you so much. This was fascinating. And with that, I think we're a couple minutes past 5. Again, thanks everyone for coming. And if you have any questions about the Graphic Arts Loan Collection, you can just Google UC Berkeley GALC and it'll come up. And also send me an email, or Jennifer Osgood, who also helps run the Graphic Arts Loan Collection at UC Berkeley too. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.